Afternoon. We will call to order the September 24th, 2025 Charter Review Committee agenda and start with roll call by our town clerk.
Right. Chair Motley.
Uh,
Vice Chair Marlowe.
Present.
Member Cox is absent. Member Guys. Member Honeycutt is absent.
Do we anticipate them coming today? Are they unavailable or?
Member Cox, no, but Member Honeycutt did say she was going to be able to make it. So.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the July 9th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
We need a second.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion approved. Any opposition? No. Carried. Item number 4 is a discussion of the Article 4 borrowing and debt limitation. I do believe in the prior meeting, we tabled this discussion to have a little more in-depth as to whether we wanted to involve ourselves in increasing or decreasing the debt. Is there any discussion?
So I did have one point of clarification. Apologies if it was covered previously, but it seemed to me the charter was more like a framework document, left out the specificities to be like ordinance. And this particular section jumped out as being extremely detailed. So I guess my question was twofold. One, I guess, is that standard? Is it typical that town charters, the borrowing and debt limit goes to?
Glad to give you some thoughts on that. So I wouldn't tell you that it's common. Like if you looked at 10 given municipal charters in Florida, you wouldn't find it in 7 of them. It is a typical type of thing you will find. And the most typical thing you will find is when there is reference to borrowing, there will be usually reference to some sort of threshold, either a percentage or something along those lines. Frankly, usually the history of those provisions is there was some run-in with debt in that city or town in the past, or a run-in with debt in a nearby city. And folks said we ought to build in some breaks. So that's, in my observation, that's where provisions like that tend to come from. So it is not a completely alien creature.
Thank you. That's helpful context. I guess, do we have any history as to why the town of Oakland chose to put in this level of detail?
What I could learn was it was about the charter school. And there was concern about wanted to set some guidelines.
That's helpful. Thank you. Sorry, so that context is helpful. I guess the next question I would have is, has this been an issue in the last 10 years? Right, since the last? Oh, hello. Sorry.
Hello. No, not really. We've always stayed underneath the debt ceiling, if you want to call it that. The only issue that we have with possibly limiting it is that it's based on our taxable property value. So for whatever reason that goes down, or you set a set amount, and we need infrastructure, then we kind of limit ourselves. So the 2% allows us to increase based on our needs. So one drops off and then something else can come on, but it's never been a problem for us having too much debt or not enough.
Okay, any additional discussion or motions with regard to this provision remaining or?
My only concern, it is a lot for somebody to read at the ballot. I mean, this whole thing would be in the ballot.
So you would have a ballot summary of 75 words or less explaining what you're changing in this, whether you're deleting the whole thing or you're changing something from this to that or what have you. So
So no, they wouldn't have to read it.
they wouldn't be reading, yeah, they wouldn't be reading something this long. But you would be having to endeavor to explain to the voters why you should change some rule about town borrowing money.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is, I think Gabby had mentioned, right, the second part of it for any sort of improvements, whether the town wants to improve roads, thinking consumer project. Does that fall under an exclusion to this, or would that be limited where it's like, hey, we can only do so much in a given year? Then it works. Is that
So I believe the way that it's written right now is if we go above what we're limited, then it needs to go in front of the voting. So you guys would have to determine if that's what you want to do. So for example, right now we are looking at borrowing some debt to build the new water plant or expand it. That's going to be about $6 million. So right now, if we leave it as it is, we're within our 2% to add that. If you reduce it, then we're not able to borrow because we would have to figure out how we were going to do that. So it would have to come in front of you guys, the citizens, and you would vote. So, I mean, you could all vote for it and say yes, and that would be great. But if you vote no, and then what would the town do? Because we don't have $6 million to just spend.
I do think that Wade said that would be an exception anyway, because you're pledging your utility revenues towards that.
Okay.
So it might be a carve out anyway.
Okay, great. So then, yeah,
But
that
if,
would be
but if we wanted to borrow 6 million for, or maybe 10 million for a road project, let's just use that as an example where we're not gonna get any revenue back from the users for that road project, and that might put us above the cap.
or a new building, right? Like if we need to do an additional building to the town or something like that.
Just for my benefit, because it's been so long. We changing anything really structurally here? I think we were.
Yeah, there, in prior meetings, there had not been any affirmative proposal on the table to make any changes to this. I think you all just wanted to revisit it one last time to see if there were any changes that you all wanted to.
So this is the existing verbiage?
This is the existing language.
Then I would entertain a motion.
I move we accept the section 411 as currently written.
Second?
Moved and properly second, motion passes. Now we will move on to discussion of Article 4, no, public comment. We don't have any members of the public here. And so I think at this point, I would like to give the floor to our attorneys to have a discussion prior to the approval of the final recommended amendments.
Committee members, good afternoon. Before you, for your consideration and hopefully for your approval, is a draft final report of the Charter Review Committee. This has been put together so that hopefully if it meets with your approval with minor tweaks like changing the date on it, this would be the final result and report of your actions that you have taken here on the Charter Review Committee. It provides an overview of the process you followed, folks you interacted with, and different offices you interacted with to gather different information. a list of all the different issues you considered, both ones that you did have recommendations on and ones ultimately you did not, just to record for posterity. An explanation of the kind of rationale for each of the recommended charter amendments, and then in the exhibit, the actual put together ballot summary and charter language for each of the charter amendments that you all have previously gone through and taken an affirmative action to say you wanted to have included within your recommendations. The primary things I would ask you to focus on and provide any changes or direction on to finalize this for your approval would be letting us know whether the language in the front body of the final report looks okay to you. And back on the Exhibit A that has the 6 ballot summaries and charter language, you all have seen all this charter language before. This is as it's previously been in front of you. You all have not seen these ballot summaries prior to receiving this final report with your packet. So if in particular you all took a look at any of these ballot summaries and looked at it and said, that's a crazy way to say this, we need to tweak this or what have you, now's the time to let us know. We can hash out any changes in that ballot summary language and proceed forward. So just to remind you, we've discussed this previously. Under Florida law, the way ballot summaries are placed before voters for matters such as this, it's governed by certain rules. You have a ballot title of 15 words or less, and then a ballot summary of 75 words or less. Stylistically, they can be proposed either as a question, i.e. structured grammatically so there's a question mark at the end, or as a statement. The statute actually says that you're to provide a brief summary of the chief purpose of the amendment. And so each what you have here grammatically, I think these ones ended up being, each one of them is organized in the form of a statement stating what it is doing to the charter, how it is amending the charter. Sometimes grammatically or for voter comprehension and understanding, sometimes it ends up being clearer stated as a question, sometimes clearer as a statement. As our office was putting these together, they seem to make more sense as statements and explanations. So we would be glad to hear any discussion or direction about any language changes to either the front part of the final report or any of the ballot summaries. Oh, and one last thing. The questions are organized 1 through 6 here. I don't recall whether we had previously discussed kind of an order. You would have it as the recommendation to the town commission, but there are many different rational ways to organize different amendments on the ballot. This organization just seemed like a rational organization to our minds as we were putting this together. If you have any direction for reordering, we can implement that as well.
May have zoned there, but the bottom portion, will that be on the ballot or will it only be the title and the?
It's only the title, the explanatory statement, and yes, no. Yeah, the other parts with the strike through and underline and all that does not go on the ballot. Otherwise, we'd have pages and pages of ballot. You can only imagine when they have those constitutional amendments on that say something, it's very difficult to understand what it is, and then it's adding 4 pages to the Florida Constitution. It would be wild.
Well, I think you did a really good job summarizing it and putting it into the right words, and so I'm completely fine with the verbiage. The report itself is fine by me.
I will actually agree with that. I was reading the ballot summary and questions would pop into my head, but of course, by the time I got to the end, it was all there. I'm in agreement that, the ballot summaries and titles are consistent with, our discussion, our approvals of changes, and as it relates to the newly raised issue about order, I don't see that there's any, logical way to reorder it other than the way it's being presented.
And I don't want to steal any credit at all. It was your town attorney, Stephanie Vella, who put all this together. I just
Very well.
did a rearranging of a word or two, so.
Well, we pay her the big bucks.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your time and attention. If we have no further discussion, then I think we would approve the final report and recommendations to be submitted to the town commission.
Yeah, I move to approve.
And I will second it.
All in favor, yay?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Our work is done. However, obviously, the final report will be submitted to the town commission for their review and a vote to move forward for the March ballot. No other business. I believe we can adjourn.
I just want to say one thing. I think what we can do, back to, I think you've made this point before, is it is such a short summary that people might not understand what that means. And I know we can't advocate one side or another, but once the commission approves on it, I think we can do some educational pieces to the residents, question by question, what it, kind of in layman's terms, what that means. And kind of just summarize it a little bit more so that they understand they can look at a document and say, when I go to the ballot, if I'm, this is what it means.
And we could post the report and the verbiage change on the website, so if anyone.
Yes,
They can actually
absolutely do that.
change.
And then maybe take the questions one at a time and just explain them a little more.
And just so you all know, the legislature has had the last many years clipping the wings of municipalities a little bit in what they can and can't say and how they can and can't say about things that are going on the ballot. Posting this on the website, perfectly permissible. What the legislature clamped down on a number of years ago was doing, like, say, direct mail pieces. Obviously, spending public money, saying vote yes on this and so on. They try to clamp that down. Some folks figured out some ways around it. I won't take any credit for that. Sorry, that long story for some other jurisdictions. Got the Division of Elections to agree to some ways around it. The legislature then patched up all those holes. And as a result, now we can't do any mail pieces at all, even explanatory ones. But we can put together explanatory pieces that can be available on the website, available on paper to folks at public places. So there's still a lot of ways the message can get out to explain things.
Can any of it be discussed at a commission meeting?
Absolutely.
They can bring,
100%.
this week, we're going to talk about, this is the first one. Do you have any answer questions from people?
100% all day long.
That discussion would likely be led by our town attorney.
For the explanation of it.
Okay, awesome. That sounds like a good plan of action forward. No other business. I believe we will adjourn this meeting at 4:21 p.m.
Does this mean I'm officially a past charter review committee member now?